The media fabricated this name.
Does the gang exist or no? Is there a gang?
The gang does not exist.
No.
Probably
Dixon Bloods
hanging out,
City does not
getting
exist.
labeled.
You know what I mean? If the way it looks is if 20 people or 30 people stand and we're all wearing the color red, you know what I mean? Which I think is a beautiful color, by the way. So if we're all wearing red, does that automatically mean we're all gang related? No.
Yeah.
LJ.
But it's not only the media. Let's not forget the police too.
Yeah, the police too.
Yeah, LJ. You remember?
Who gave them?
So you lived in Dixon, So you know even Auto South how they do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's to be labeled a gang member. There's 6 criteria, right? Turf, association, and it's like weird. I forget the others, but it's some of it is ambiguous, right? So anybody can fall into those categories.
Exactly.
So that's the problem. That's what pisses me off about this, because you can't help who you know and you grew up with, right?
Exactly. No.
So, I mean, if I grew up with, like, even I remember talking to a prosecutor about this specifically. You know what I mean? They're like, you are a gang member because of such and such associations. How was I a gang member with that association? And I asked the prosecutor, I'm like, if I grew up with you, does that automatically make me a prosecutor as well? You know what I mean? Like that's the logic. That's the logic.
No,
that's the logic behind it. You can't help who you know. Somalis are not cliquey. Somalis are Somalis. You can be a jock, a nerd, whatever. We stick together still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
especially because we are Somali, right? We really we
so if
take
somebody's
that
doing
bond.
dirt, that's not your fault. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't be. That's you're bunching people into.
As Somalis, we always do that.
Yeah.
Everywhere we are in the world, we stick together.
Right.
We don't stick together on everything.
Right.
But naturally, when we see another Somali person and we live in the same neighborhood, we become like a community.
Right.
You know what I mean? So because of people being from one specific community, labeling them as a gang, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
It
So
makes no sense.
So in your humble opinion,
My humble opinion, there is no Dixon Bloods.
Okay. Anybody else see it differently or the same way? Do you feel the same thing that in terms of like there after the conclusion you watched it, you said no, I don't think there is. Abdifatah, you're very well known in the community and part of it.
Speaking of when it comes to gangsters, within that area, there's no such a thing. The biggest gangster in that area was that dead mayor.
Okay, Rob Ford.
Rob Ford.
Yeah.
He was the biggest fucking thug.
Right.
He's the one that really came back to our community and messed up our community.
Yeah.
And he walked away. Cops never went after him.
Right.
Why? Because he was a fucking privileged white man. You know what I mean? That had it been a black mayor, things would have been different. This guy is the one that really did all the harm to our community.
Right.
Once you're in a position of leadership
Right.
and you're a mayor,
Right.
you're supposed to be, like a role model.
Right.
But what did he do, this guy? He came back to our community. Parents and the community did everything in their power to make sure that they put young people in a position that they can, they can become somebody.
Right.
But what did he do? He comes back. The biggest fat ass comes back to the community. You know what I mean? And tells young people, come sell your fucking dope to me. So in other words, he's the one that we're turning our young people become a gangsters.
Right. The mayor himself.
Is a freaking systemic.
Right.
Yeah,
You understand? So it's not about the media. To me personally, if we truly wanted to do something about it, we should have been more like we should have been more like conscious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're not.
Yeah.
That's
Iman, you have
unfortunate.
a look on your face. What was that?
I'm in disagreement. This is the thing with the Somali community. No offense. It's we love to play the victim. It's he came to us and made us selling crack. He grabbed us by the hair and said, "Sell me your crack right now." That's not what happened. Clearly, if they were selling drugs, they were selling it to whoever wanted it.
Right.
So it's not. I don't think it's Ford's fault that that any of this happened. Yes, he was a drug addict. He bought drugs. If he wasn't going to buy it from these kids, he would have bought it from any other kids, right? So it's not his fault. What happened is he got lucky because he is the mayor. He was privileged. He was a white man. They weren't going to prosecute him because they didn't want the city to look bad as a whole. So someone had to get in trouble, right?
So was Dixon the bad guy?
So no, Dixon wasn't the bad. Dixon was doing what other neighborhoods do. Where some people sell drugs. That's life.
Yeah.
But Dixon had to be the one to take the fall because when all that got out, that whole situation happened with the video, and they're not going to go and look for guys in Scarborough. They're going to come. They're going to come for Dixon. They're going to do a whole news release saying, "Community, feel safe.
Right.
It's okay. We got the bad guys. Don't have any worries." That's what the whole thing was. Whenever there's a shooting and anything, the first thing they say is investigation whether it was gang related because they want the community to feel like, hey, we're going to get these guys.
Right.
Right? You could have been a perfectly good, great guy, had nothing to do with it. They're going to say you're involved in a gang or this is a gang issue or this shooting has to do with a problem with the community. Because when there is an arrest, they want to look like, oh, we got all the gangs. We're doing good. Like, No.
Yeah. How come in the documentary, Kareem, and this question is for you, how come in the documentary, the Dixon Bloods, there was an association between Somalis and Dixon Bloods? Now, they kept using the word Dixon, which is an area, right? So Dixon is an area, but they kept saying Dixon Bloods, and there was an affiliation with Somalis. How come the whites or the Indians or the, South Asians or whatever, whoever else lives there, how come they weren't associated as the Dixon Bloods?
In the first group of people charged in the Project Traveler raids, anyone with a Somali name was charged with participating in a criminal organization. But others, even those with multiple charges, were not accused of being in the gang.
It's kind of, your question ties into my biggest beef with the documentary is that it paints the Somali community in a negative light, right? And to people that are unaware of it, there's a lot of good things that happen in the community. And we were talking about this a couple months ago with the anti-Islamic radicalization money in Minnesota, and we were like, and my opinion was, don't take the money because they have a narrative, they have a purpose that they're trying to paint this picture of you, right? So the other thing that was in the news last week and a half is there was a young Somali boy, and I think it was Kitchener and Waterloo. He applied for a job. What did the job application said? I've heard about Somalis.
Yes.
They're not good with authority. Now, things like Vice, this documentary, do you think, so this individual, I think he was Oriental, I don't know anyways, he lives in Kitchener, Waterloo. There's a Somali community there, it's not very big. Where did he get his perception that Somalis are not good with authority? Media.
Yeah.
Things like this, right?
Yeah.
So my biggest issue with the documentary, whether it be false or true, is it paints us in a negative light. So we have to be cognizant of whether there's issues in the communities, we can fix them, but we don't have to televise them because there are ignorant people out there who don't know how to think critically that will view that, and all they take away from it is Somalis are against the law, they're criminals, they're thugs. And this is to the point where this guy in an email responded to the guy and said, you didn't get the job because I've heard that Somalis are not good with authority. And to work in this position is you have to be okay with authority. Now, if you interviewed that guy, do you think he has any Somalis that live in his community? The guy that, no. So where is he getting it from? Right? So that was my biggest issue with the documentary as a whole, is because it's painting us in a negative light, and this has an issue. It has a long-term effect. It's no different than we talked about racism in the States. You have cops that when they pull somebody over, they see black man, they see that he's aggressive. They already have that preconceived notion. Why? Because of what they see in the media. It all ties back. So we have to be cognizant of that and say, okay, we can fix our issues. We can do it behind closed door, but we don't have to have a documentary where at the end of the day, they're what? A for-profit company. They're trying to make something that gets the most amount of views, and us as a society, what do we love? Guns, violence, death. When you watch the news, what leads? What bleeds? If it bleeds, it leads. All of us, right? So again, like it all, that was my biggest thing.
Has anybody been discriminated here in terms of jobs or even whatever interaction? Like, have you ever been discriminated because you are Somali?
I don't know if it was Somali. I once showed up to an interview and the lady refused to shake my hand.
Oh, point blank.
Yeah, so I'm black and I'm Somali and I'm Muslim. It could have been any of those things, but it happens, right? And I'm sure a lot of people. There was a research study. I think it was like a week or a month ago that said that same resume, if you put like a white name on there, a non-culture name, you get a job. Again, it all ties back to it, right? So that was my biggest beef with the documentary, is that, and that example, Kitchener Waterloo, point blank, this guy is saying in his email, Somalis are known to be not okay with authority, like. Where does he get this opinion from?
As a future lawyer, inshallah, what is there some type of discrimination in terms of Somalis because of the media? What the media continuously feeds, citizens or their viewers. Has that? What have you seen?
I think people in the legal community are much more intelligent, and you're trained as a lawyer to think critically. You're not going to graduate if you don't think critically, But there are, I know people personally. I know one Somali lawyer. She's a female in Toronto, and she was saying she walked in and she's representing someone, right? And then the lawyer was there, and he said to her, "Oh, where's your lawyer?" And she goes, "No, this is my client. I am the lawyer." And he started laughing. He literally started laughing in court. It's quite embarrassing. And things like that happen. It does happen, And for employment, and just because you're black and you're Muslim on top of that, hits them twice. You know what I mean? So I don't really think they care so much that you're Somali. It's more of a skin color thing and your background.
We talked about Rob Ford and the whole video of him smoking crack and whatnot, and then the raid happened in Dixon. Is there a correlation between the two? Because it seems like certain people are like, no, one was just like, gang activity. The police came in, they raided Dixon. They just wanted to, get some guns and whatnot. And then one was completely different. So there's no connection. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, there has been a connection. I think some of the elders or even the young people that were when the raid took place in Dixon, I think the cops that raided Dixon, I think they were asking first thing they were asking was the device, if they had like the tape, if they had, you know what I mean? So
wow.
Yeah, that happened. And going back to Rob Ford, I understand where the sister was coming from. I mean, I remember I was running a program, youth mentorship program, and I had this kid who was 14 years old, as a child. He comes to me and he was telling me that the night before, he was hanging out with the big boys, you know what I mean? And and this is how he said it to me. It's like we were smoking with the mayor.
Right.
So I grabbed the kid on the side. I'm like, I'll beat the crap out of you if you ever say to me that you smoke. Who are you smoking with? He said, no, coach, it wasn't me. The big boys. What he meant by the big boys are 16-year-old kids. Oh. So I mean, when this man he's trusted to run the city,
right.
And he comes back to your community, and he's like basically hanging out with kids 14, 15, 16-year-old. That is a problem. That is that's my beef with the dead man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
With respect to the discrimination, I had to move out Toronto because of my son was discriminated. I moved to Mississauga.
Wow. Okay.
Thinking, Mississauga, it's all about good. But the motherfucking Mississauga is also they discriminate you too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You can't get away from it.
You get away from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it is.
That's the problem.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean something that when I was even when I was youth here in Toronto, God put a gun on me.
Wow.
Not only did he put a gun on me, but he said to me, "You're lucky, nigger. I didn't shoot you." So this is not.